No one recognized him. Not the guards, not the inmates, not even the prison warden. When Ibrahim Traoré disguised himself as an ordinary criminal and stepped into Kotoka prison, he was just another nameless face among hundreds. But what he discovered inside those concrete walls would shake him to the core. 6 days later, everything inside that prison would change. Kotoka prison, located east of Ouagadougou, was infamous. Surrounded by thick gray walls topped with barbed wire, it was a place where hope didn't exist and the law held no meaning. Life behind those walls followed its own brutal code. Early one Sunday morning, the heavy iron gates creaked open. Another prisoner was being brought in. His name was Moussa Diallo, 38 years old, arrested for attempting a petty theft. His file looked ordinary, but there was something it didn't reveal. This man was actually Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the acting leader of Burkina Faso. "Move! Hurry!" barked the guard at the entrance, not even bothering to look him in the eye. Traoré didn't protest. His face was rough with stubble. His shirt was old and faded, his pants torn. He blended in perfectly. No one could tell he was the most powerful man in the country. For months, the official reports from Kotoka prison all said the same thing. Everything is fine, no problems, conditions are improving. But then, anonymous letters began to reach Traoré's desk. Letters that spoke of torture, starvation, missing inmates, and unexplained deaths. Traoré realized he had only one way to find out the truth. He had to see it for himself. His first day inside was like any other prisoner's. He was handed a stained uniform, thrown into an empty, filthy cell, and assigned to C7 block, the most feared section in the entire prison. The bunk he was given had sheets that stank of mold, a thin blanket, and a pillow that felt like stone. Suspicious eyes followed him. In C7, every new face was a possible threat. A large man across the room broke the silence. "Hey, new guy, what landed you here?" Traoré responded calmly. "Tried to rob a store. Didn't even have a weapon. Guess it wasn't my lucky day." The man gave a short laugh. "Sounds rough." His name was Bakari. Everyone in the block knew him. He ran the place, deciding who ate, who suffered, and who survived. "And you?" Traoré asked. "What brought you here?" Bakari leaned back and gave a dark chuckle. 15 years. Murder, theft, you name it. But my real crime? Getting caught. "What's life like in here?" Traoré asked with genuine curiosity. Bakari's smile faded. "There is no life here. Just waiting. Waiting to die." That night, as silence fell over the prison, a faint sound echoed through the cell block, a moan filled with pain. Traoré turned to look. In one corner, a young man was curled up, his body trembling. His face dripped with sweat, and his eyes burned with fever. "What's wrong with him?" Traoré whispered to the old man beside him. "That's Gaspar," the man said with sorrow. "The guards beat him 2 weeks ago, cracked his ribs. No treatment since. Now it's infected." "Isn't there a doctor?" Traoré asked, shocked. The prisoners around him laughed bitterly. "Doctor? There's no doctor here. If you get sick, you either get better or you die. That's it." Morning came, and the first horror followed. Before the doors opened, guards walked in and headed straight for Gaspar's bunk. His body no longer moved. "Another one gone," muttered the lead guard, Bolat, without a hint of emotion. They dragged Gaspar's lifeless body like he was nothing more than garbage. Rage bubbled inside Traoré, but he kept his face blank. In this place, showing emotion could get you killed. "You," said Bolat, pointing at Traoré. "You're in the kitchen today." The prison kitchen was a reflection of the prison itself, dark, dirty, and filled with misery. Rotten food, broken tools, and hopeless faces. Traoré was put to work chopping vegetables that were already half rotten. He watched everything, the food portions, how meals were made, the hygiene, or lack of it. "These vegetables are spoiled," he said quietly to the elderly prisoner next to him. The man laughed. "They're not for us, son. We get the gruel in that corner pot. The good stuff, meat, bread, proper meals, that's for the guards." Sure enough, another cook was preparing decent food in a different pot. "They eat meat. We get bones. They eat bread. We get mold." That night, back in the cell, Bakari approached him again. "Come, new guy, I need to talk." They stepped into a quiet corner. Bakari's eyes were watery. "At the end of the corridor, there's a room. Anyone who enters either doesn't come out or comes out broken." He lowered his voice. "There's a whole hidden system here. You pay to get food. You pay to see a doctor. You even pay to stay alive. If you have no money or family, may God help you." "How long's this been going on?" Traoré asked. "Always," Bakari replied, "but it got worse after Kabor became warden. On the third day, another prisoner died, but this time, it wasn't because of illness. He'd been taken into that secret room and never came out alive." "What happened to him?" Traoré asked as others slept. "Tortured," Bakari said grimly. "His family couldn't pay the bribe. They shocked him with electricity, beat him. You hear those screams at night? They're real." "But why?" Traoré asked. "Why do this?" "For money," said Bakari. "The ministry sends funds for every prisoner, but the guards take it all. On paper, this place looks like heaven. In truth, it's hell." By day 4, it was Traoré's turn. 2 guards stormed in, grabbed him, and dragged him down the corridor. One of them kicked him hard in the stomach. "The warden wants to see you," he said. "Hope you've got a good story." The special room was worse than anything Traoré imagined. Blood on the walls, electric shock tools, a steel chair bolted to the ground. Warden Kabor walked in, clean uniform, fat belly, cold eyes. He held up a folder. "Musa Diallo, or whoever you are, we heard you've been talking, asking questions. That's dangerous." "I'm just a prisoner," Traoré said calmly, "trying to stay alive." "To stay alive," Kabor grinned, "you need money. Got any friends? Family? Someone who can pay?" Traoré stayed silent. Kabor stepped closer. "Let me explain how things work here. You either pay or you suffer. That's simple." "How much?" Traoré asked. "For someone like you?" Kabor smirked. 500,000 CFA. That was more than most Burkina earned in a whole year. And with that, Traoré understood. This prison wasn't just a place of punishment. It was a business built on suffering. "And what if I don't pay?" Traoré asked calmly. Kabori pointed at the electric shock devices on the wall, his voice cold. "Then we start the fun." Traoré looked him in the eye. "Warden, I think I have an offer." Kabore raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Go on, I'm listening." "Before you decide to beat me," Traoré said steadily, "let me show you who I really am. Maybe we can come to an understanding." Kabor chuckled. "What are you going to show me? That you're a long-lost prince? A secret millionaire?" Without reacting to the sarcasm, Traoré slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out a small plastic object. It was a transmitter, handed to him by the national security team before his mission. With one firm press of his thumb, the signal was sent. Kabor frowned. "What are you doing?" "I'm calling for backup," Traoré answered, his voice calm and confident. "They're very close." Kabor's smirk disappeared instantly. "What is this nonsense? Guards!" But when the door burst open, it wasn't the prison guards who entered. It was a tactical team of massed special forces, fully armed and ready. These were Traoré's men. Kabore stumbled backward, stunned. Who are these people?" Traoré stood up slowly. This time his posture was firm, his presence commanding. "Warden Kabore," he said clearly, "my name is Ibrahim Traoré, and you are under arrest." Kabore's face drained of color. His legs shook. "Impossible," he whispered. "I've received countless reports about you. Torture, bribes, starvation, and unexplained deaths. I came here to see if they were true, and now I've seen everything with my own eyes." The special forces moved in, restraining Kabor with ease. The man was too shocked to fight back. "But we were just doing what we were told," Kabor stammered. "Orders from the ministry, from the government." "I am the government," Traoré said firmly, "and the only orders I've given are to protect human dignity and bring justice to every Burkinabe." Outside, helicopters hovered in the sky. The entire prison was surrounded. Traoré stepped forward, his voice still calm. "I once trusted you with responsibility, but after seeing the cruelty you allowed, I'm going to be your first witness and your first prisoner." Across the prison, panic spread. Guards dropped their weapons. Some tried to run but were quickly captured. Others surrendered without resistance. When the door to cell block C7 opened again, the prisoners inside stared in disbelief. Traoré walked in, not as the weary man they had seen days before, but as a leader in control, surrounded by his security team. He approached Bakari. You're really... Bakari tried to speak, but couldn't finish the sentence. "Yes," Traoré nodded. "And every story I heard in this place matters. Each one has weight. The time for justice has come." Traoré began inspecting the entire prison himself. He saw cells filled with starving inmates, secret rooms filled with torture devices, and faces hollowed by despair. He recorded names, documented abuses, and made sure every violation was noted. On Saturday, he declared, "Everyone will gather in the yard, all inmates, all staff." A security officer asked quietly, "Will there be punishment? Will there be executions?" "No," Traoré said. "There will be justice, and justice is more powerful than revenge." That Saturday, under the morning sun, the prison yard was filled. On one side stood the prisoners, dirty, weak, and broken. On the other stood guards and staff, nervous, ashamed, afraid. Traoré stepped forward in plain clothes, no uniform, no fanfare. By his side were his ministers and top officials. "Today," he began, "Burkina Faso must decide what kind of country it wants to be. Will we stand with those who suffer or those who cause suffering? Are we innocent if we watch injustice and say nothing?" Silence hung in the air. Some guards looked down, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Among the prisoners, there was both hope and disbelief. "I'm shutting down Kotoka prison today," Traoré announced. "This place of horror will be demolished. In its place, we'll build a rehabilitation center, focused on healing, not punishment." He turned to the prisoners. "Every inmate will be given a medical checkup. The sick will be treated, the hungry will be fed, and every case will be reviewed properly." Tears welled up in Bakari's eyes. "Is this real?" he whispered. "It's real," Traoré said, "because the truth will no longer be buried. We're going to face it, together." Weeks passed. Kotoka prison no longer looked like a prison at all. The walls had been torn down. The barbed wire was gone. In its place stood a peaceful, open campus. Where there had once been pain, now there was hope. The torture chamber had been transformed into a library. The filthy kitchen was now a clean, functioning soup kitchen. In the yard, former inmates from C7 gathered under the open sky. Bakari, now dressed in clean clothes, worked as a health assistant. "President Traoré is visiting today," he said with pride. "We need to thank him." When Traoré arrived, he wore simple clothes, just like the day he entered the prison. But this time, he walked proudly. He wasn't hiding anymore. Standing before the crowd, he spoke. "A prison system is the mirror of a nation. And when we look into that mirror now, we don't see shame, we see dignity." As he shook hands with former inmates, one man held back tears. It was Gaspar. His body had healed, and his strength had returned. "Mr. President," he said softly, "you saved my life." Traoré smiled gently. "No, Gaspar, we saved each other, because a nation is only as strong as the weakest among us." Bakari stepped forward with other former prisoners. "In our culture," he said, "we don't praise a ruler, we embrace a brother." And that day, the prison once known for fear became a place of unity, where a leader embraced his people and a broken system began its journey toward healing. The Kotoka mission sparked something bigger, a complete reform of Burkina Faso's prisons. Warden Kabor and his allies were fairly tried and punished. But more important than punishment was the message Traoré sent to the whole nation. No citizen, no matter where they are, will be ignored or forgotten. In an interview later, Traoré said, "Real power is protecting the powerless. True leadership means feeling your people's pain. And real freedom begins with justice for everyone." Across Burkina Faso and across the continent, this story lived on. The story of a leader who stepped into darkness just to lead his people into the light.